Okay, so guys, we're talking about the respiratory system pathology, and the topic is tuberculosis. Now we are doing the second part of it, and that is the secondary tuberculosis. So the secondary tuberculosis, let's make the structure here. Okay, so let's say this is the lung. This patient was somewhere in the past infected by the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This patient is PPD positive. This patient has dormant TB probably sitting in lymph nodes and in some nodules, caseous nodules in his lungs. So this is a patient with a previous exposure, and this is also possible that this is a patient that had previous exposure. His body has become sensitized, his immune system has become sensitized to the Mycobacterium tuberculosis without these structures. Just normal, any pathogen that comes in causes the body to recognize it in the future. Now let's say the pathogen comes in again. So 10 years later, pathogen said, hey dude, I'm going to come in. So why is it coming in now? Maybe the patient gets reinfected, or maybe one of these granulomas, these caseous necrosed areas, or these calcified areas become reactivated because the patient's situation, either he's malnourished or he has gotten some disease or elderly or some other such situation where this becomes opened up. When that opened up, the patient becomes infected again. Now this is the interesting thing. As soon as the patient becomes infected, remember the patient's immune system now recognizes this pathogen. So type 4 hypersensitivity reaction would occur immediately. Previously in the type 1 we saw that it goes on for weeks for the reaction to occur. Here, as soon as the pathogen comes in, now somehow this secondary tuberculosis involves upper lobes or apices of the lung. We think it is because of the oxygen tension there, but there is no real reason. The primary tuberculosis involves lower lobes, middle lobes, and pleura. The secondary tuberculosis involves apices and pleura. So now what happens is, as soon as the pathogen is seen here, what is the pathology? Macrophage is going to look at that. It is going to present the pathogen antigens to the locally residing cells, the lymphocytes. Which lymphocytes? T lymphocytes. So NK cells, cytotoxic T cells, macrophages themselves, right, and helper T cells. And what will happen because of this? So it would, macrophage would have IL-12, this would do interferon gamma. The end result is an immediate, within minutes, an immediate type 4 hypersensitivity reaction would occur, and lots of inflammation and damage would occur in that area. When that damage would occur, this area will become immediately necrosed. Necrosis would start. Will this necrosis involve the lymph nodes? No. Primary TB, lymph nodes are involved. Secondary TB, lymph nodes are not involved normally. Primary TB, middle and lower lobes. Secondary TB, apices. As soon as now the damage starts occurring and necrosis start occurring, we form abscess. So secondary TB, abscess formation, yes. Primary TB, abscess formation, no. Secondary TB, will we form a Ghon complex? Do we have enough time to keep damaging and forming granulomas and then calcify them? No. So granulomas or caseous necrosis with granuloma in secondary TB? No. So instead, what do we get? Abscess. Now what happens is that these abscesses start growing, and as they grow, the abscess might open up in the pleura, or it might open up in the airways. It would just destroy the walls and open up in the airway. When it opens up in the airway, let me make that here a new abscess. When it starts draining in the airway, the abscess would start becoming empty. When it starts becoming empty and you take a chest x-ray, what are you going to see? You are going to see air fluid levels. That is half empty abscess. It is draining. Where is it draining? Either in the pleura or in the airway, or the worst case, in the blood supply. If it is going in the blood vessels, then that is really bad, because now we're going to have a dissemination. Air fluid levels have appeared. Now if it has gone to the pleura, then we may have pneumothorax that would develop. We may have empyema that would develop. We may develop pleural effusion. We may develop pleural infections as well, and then pleural pain would appear as well. Now when the part of the abscess is ejected, where will it go if it is in the airway? So let me make it blue just to show the color. When it is ejected out, it would be thrown out. So patient would do two things. Either the patient would, so let's say, either the patient would swallow it, or the patient would throw it out, expectorate it. Both of those are dangerous. Why? If the patient has swallowed, this expectoration, this phlegm is loaded with mycobacterium pathogens. So when it goes into the GIT, it can cause the gastrointestinal tuberculosis. Or when the patient is expectorating it and throwing it out, it is a very infective load that can infect others. So that is a danger of the secondary tuberculosis. One, severe cavitations, immediate severe cavitation and destruction of the lung tissue starting from the apices. Secondly, patient is very, very infective to the others. Now the third one, the dissemination in the body. So as the pathogen goes in the blood supply and then starts spreading in the body, it can cause meningitis. It can go through the heart and then to the brain and cause emboli over there. It can go to the liver and cause miliary tuberculosis of the liver. It can go to the spleen, cause miliary tuberculosis of the spleen. It can go to the kidneys, causing miliary tuberculosis of the kidney. It can go to the spinal cord and the vertebra, causing Pott's disease. So this can go in many other areas and cause disease. So that is also a very important aspect of this secondary tuberculosis. Compared to the primary tuberculosis, secondary tuberculosis is localized. It is cavitating, primary is not. It doesn't have Ghon complex and Ghon focus, primary has it. It doesn't involve lymph nodes, primary does, and so on. Now the question, what happens in the immunocompromised? Patients who has AIDS or who are immunocompromised because we have given them drugs, or they have cancers of the bone marrow and so on, many diseases, genetic problems with the immune system. Immunocompromised patients may not form granulomas because their immune system is not reacting. So the TB might just keep destroying their tissue without any granuloma formation, without any reaction from the immune system. In the secondary tuberculosis, if the patient is immunocompromised, then do you think the cavitation, the type 4 hypersensitivity reaction will occur? No, there is no competent immune system. So do you think that the pathogen will form a cavity that will open up in the airway and the pathogen would appear in the expectoration or the sputum? No. So if this is a healthy, competent, immunocompetent person and this is an immunocompromised person, they both are re-exposed to the tuberculosis. Immunocompromised patient's sputum may not have enough pathogen to show compared to immunocompetent. This is very important. So acid-fast bacteria load in immunocompromised patients' sputum may be very less. Still, the diagnosis has to be made by the chest x-rays and by the cultures to show the acid-fast bacteria. So that is the situation with the immunocompromised. If the patient is in a state of the immunocompromise, then just like primary progressive TB, this is possibility that the patient will undergo secondary progressive tuberculosis. So guys, if you receive a patient, you do the chest x-ray and you see an abscess, do you think it is primary tuberculosis? No. You see air fluid levels, do you think it is primary tuberculosis? No. You see Ghon complex, Ghon focus plus abscesses, that means he had the primary tuberculosis which is continuing and now he's gotten the abscesses and secondary tuberculosis as well. So make sure that you are aware of these things when you're looking at these patients. Now let's look at the chest x-ray of a patient with the miliary tuberculosis. Guys, look at this diagram here. This is miliary tuberculosis. And why is the miliary tuberculosis called that? Look on the right side, you see millet seeds here. This tuberculosis looks like millet seeds and that is why the name. And what happens is this is basically hematogenous spread. So the pathogen went into the blood and then from the blood it attacked almost all of the viscera itself. So this is a lung with many foci of the tuberculous damage. So this is miliary tuberculosis. Miliary tuberculosis always is a hematogenous spread to a particular organ. This is not, mostly this is not the primary. Now let's look at the chest x-ray. So this is a chest x-ray of a patient with miliary tuberculosis. Do you see lots and lots of infiltrations that you can see here? And so this millet seed appearance is throughout the lung x-ray. So this is called the miliary tuberculosis. Thank you very much.